Brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres have their final road trip of the year starting tonight with a 3-game series with the San Francisco Giants to fight for third place in the NL West. Blake Snell will make his final start in a Padres uniform tonight in San Francisco. Aztecs lost their first conference game this past Friday to Boise State. Next up for the Aztecs, a trip to take on Air Force this Saturday, 5 p.m. kickoff. Pregame coverage starts at 3 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760, and a doubleheader tonight for Monday Night Football. We'll be carrying the Rams game tonight starting at 5:15 versus the Bengals. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
Need a little more of NBC7's Darnay Trip? You're in luck. Sports Wrap continues with our own Jon and Jim and Darnay Trip, taking a look back at the weekend that was and giving you all the latest news and analysis. Now here's Jon and Jim and NBC7's Darnay Trip.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour one of Jon and Jim. Like Jim just said, we're with you until 5:15 tonight because we have Rams football, Monday Night Football. We also have some of the best giveaways we've ever had on Jon and Jim, guys, including Coldplay tickets for this week at Snapdragon Stadium. We also have gift cards to give away for Restaurant Week. We also have Guns N' Roses tickets to give away. So between now and 5:15, be listening for your chance to win those tickets. So Sports Wrap continues here. Jon and Jim with you on this Monday afternoon. Bernie Wilson, by the way, wrote for the AP a really interesting article today, which is where I kind of want to start some of the conversation, guys, beginning with, here's what I thought happened. Kevin wrote what he wrote. Organization didn't discredit it. Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal wrote further about the dysfunction of the organization. For me, what Bernie wrote today in the AP, and we'll talk to Bernie in about an hour, was like Padres players have begun their campaign to discredit what was written by Kevin and Dennis. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but Joe Musgrove was quoted in this. Fernando Tatis Jr. was quoted in this. Part of the quote, Jim, that I wanted to touch on from Joe Musgrove, and there's more than this, but he says, at one point he said, by no means is it a dysfunctional organization. So what do you make of what Bernie wrote in the AP today, and does it discredit some of the reporting from Kevin and Dennis and others over the last week or so?
Well, look, there's a lot of things that were written this past weekend, and obviously rightfully so. It's the last homestand of the year. So there's multiple things, and we'll get into it with the Athletic and talking about, Melvin's future, which I think is the most important thing that came out of the weekend. But I do think that the what Bernie wrote here and quotes from players, what else do you want them to say? I don't think they're going to come out publicly and talk about, yeah, everything was right. But they also didn't really fully say that everything that was written was a complete lie. And they also mentioned, which I found was fascinating, the fact that they still had to meet and have more meetings. I mean, this team has had more team meetings, guys, than I can count on my fingers on my hands. I mean, the amount of team meetings.
That means more than 10.
Yes, Jim facts. The amount of team meetings that this team has had this year has been incredible. And it seems like every team meeting was meaningless because they never fixed the problem.
Darnay, what do you think? I mean, agree or disagree? Is this players pushing back on this narrative from Kevin and Dennis, or is this the players just saying what they basically have to say, which is, that they basically, what else are they supposed to say to Jim's point?
I think it's probably like the two of you are walking across each other in the hallway, and you probably give Jim a gentle nudge. You know what I mean? Just slight act of aggression. You're not slamming him against the wall. It's just you check him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like a friendly nudge. I didn't feel like it was a real spirited no. We don't agree with what's being reported. We think this is a misrepresentation. And the fact that Joe Musgrove, even said that, there was some dysfunction that they felt like they need to address, that they should have addressed sooner. And that they've since talked, after these articles came out, if there was nothing there, you'd probably wouldn't feel the need to have a conversation following up to what was said in these stories. You could probably easily just brush it off and say, hey, there's nothing there. We can go about our lives and go about our business. So I think to say they're pushing back is probably putting it too strongly. I actually thought what Joe Musgrove had to say was interesting, because I think he actually shed light on the fact that, yeah, there were some issues. They needed to address them sooner than they did. And that's part of kind of the matrix of things that cause this team to fall short of their or our expectations.
All right. So in addition to that, and Jim just touched on this as well, you have Dennis Lin writing in The Athletic this weekend about speculation swirling on Bob Melvin's future, which makes sense. The team is still under 500. He's in year 2 of a 3-year deal. We'll see if he is back or not. I think Dennis essentially said, while paraphrasing, either he could leave the organization or he won't be retained, aka he could be fired by the organization. That's obviously still to be determined. Black Monday is a week from today, right? The day after the regular season ends. But the idea that Bob Melvin won't be with the organization moving forward, Jim, you've said if Bob Melvin isn't here and it's the organization's choice, that's as much a reflection of the organization as it is Bob Melvin.
If Bob Melvin is not the manager of this team next year, AJ Preller needs to be fired immediately. Like, immediately. There's no question in my mind that if you can't make it work with Bob Melvin, you don't deserve another chance. You've gotten chance after chance after chance, and it's too much. It's over with. You know, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I tell you what, he doesn't deserve to be here, AJ Preller, if Bob Melvin's not the manager next year. And to have Bob Melvin fall on that sword for this disastrous of a season is pretty pathetic in my mind for an organization to do that, to have Bob Melvin be the fall guy here for a year where you didn't even get close to meeting expectations, like not even close. Bob's not the main problem here. Does Bob have blame on his hands? Absolutely. Has he had a bad year managing? Like, yeah, everybody's had a bad year with this team. You know, yeah, you can say a couple guys have had good years, but dude, when you have a year like this, you can't feel happy about it. Anybody in that clubhouse, you know, coaches included. So you get rid of Bob Melvin, AJ Preller needs to be fired immediately. That's how I feel.
What do you think, Darnay? You think AJ gets rid of Melvin and says, not only is Melvin gone, I'm gone since we got rid of Bob? I mean, what do you think happens with the organization, not just Bob?
Yeah, I guess as this season has gone on and we got kind of that glimmer of life and the team hasn't completely collapsed like they did in 2019 and 2021, it's given me maybe naively just this idea that, hey, maybe Bob Melvin is coming back, because there was a portion of the season where that did seem like a long shot. But now, given what has come out and given that so much of that, and I think Dennis Lin tried to kind of spread the blame around, and there was a portion of it about Bob Melvin, but it had a completely different tone and feel when discussing Bob Melvin than when discussing AJ Preller. I think the takeaway from that piece pointed more to the front office and how that has all kind of trickled down. And so I think it's hard to assess what happened this season and just put it on your manager when there are these issues that continue to creep up, just like they did in 2021, that causes some just kind of instability, poor communication, and just like a lack of like a clear aligned vision within the organization. That had nothing to do with Bob Melvin in 2021. Now he's kind of, I don't want to say he's a victim to it, because that would completely take the blame off of him. And you know, he would probably say that, you know, he could have done things better. But I think we all, just given everything that's come out, it makes it clear that like there are organizational issues that need to be addressed. That seems to start from the top. The fact that nobody has really pushed back, including the team's CEO. And, you know, there seems to be this tone of, yeah, like things that have been reported are correct. They need to be addressed. We have addressed them. I don't see how you could do that and be like, switch the manager. That'll do it. And on top of that, and I know you guys have had this discussion, like, who are you going to bring in? How does that impact the search when somebody as well respected as Bob Melvin, you know, either says, I'm not doing it, or you're going to have me be the scapegoat when all this stuff is going on? Like, that is a poor reflection. Of course, the wild card is they just say, hey, Ryan Flaherty, you're our guy, and he's going to do probably whatever AJ Preller says that he should do, because he's the one that's kind of knighted by him. He's not going to get this opportunity, at least at this point, anywhere else. But yeah, to just put it on Bob Melvin and say that's going to be the move and that'll, you know, get us back on the right course would seem a bit short-sighted. I mean,
correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I feel like in September, the person in this whole mess that looks best is Melvin, who's like taking accountability for what went wrong. He was asked about Kevin's article. He said, it starts with me. Sure, the players are leaders as well, but I'm the leader of the ship. Like, I'm the captain here. It starts with me. He took accountability. I think he's taken the high road. I look at AJ, and he talked to our Marty Caswell recently, and he's still selling this idea of let's put pressure on. It's not over. That was as recently as a couple days ago. You have Manny Machado. We're going to get to it coming up a little later in the show. You're going to hear from Manny Machado. I mean, Manny Machado is in this world where he's blaming the media for the expectations. Like, what? You were in the NLCS last year, dude. You finished second in MVP voting last year. And we created this narrative. We laid these expectations in front of this team that were unrealistic. So I think, Jim, in the whole pecking order here, nobody really looks better in the mess than Bob Melvin.
He's the adult in the room.
Yes.
He's the adult in the room that this team needed after 2021 because you didn't have that. You haven't had that here since Bob. I mean, for Andy Green and Pat Murphy for a while he was manager, and Jace Tingler, you needed the adult in the room. And that's what Bob Melvin was when they hired him here, and that's what he still is to this day. Mm-hmm. Bob doesn't deal with this crap. Like, Bob doesn't want to deal with this stuff. Now, you might have had a crappy owner in Oakland, but they still won a lot of games there. And he took that team pretty far. A lot. Not as far as he took the Padres last year in the NLCS, but still, I bet you go back and if you search out years that Bob Melvin was manager there, how many of those years were any stories written like stories written this year about a club that Bob Melvin was the manager of? And
zero, probably. Exactly. I don't know if anyone's really paying it. It's a little different. Like Oakland as the second team in the market, kind of like, the little,
him and Billy Beane. I don't think there was any type of Billy Beane let Bob Melvin walk. He's like, look, you're not going to have anything here. We're going to suck next year. Mm-hmm. I want you to go somewhere that you can possibly win. Mm-hmm. I just think, for blaming Bob Melvin, or at least firing him to make it look like you're blaming Bob Melvin, because that's what it's going to be. Perception is going to become reality, and everyone's going to think that you thought that Bob Melvin was the problem, and if you change Bob Melvin, then you'll be better next year. I just think that's a horrible way to go about this whole thing, and it's completely looking in the wrong direction. If you want to blame Bob Melvin for their 0-12 now record in extra inning games, go ahead, but I'm sorry, you don't really know baseball if you're blaming Bob Melvin for all these extra inning losses. Are you blaming Bob Melvin because the approach by the batters suck? Like, is that why you're upset? Are you upset because? But also, why?
And I want to hear from Darnay on this. But in the same respect, correct me if I'm wrong. You're blaming AJ Preller, and I'm not saying you are. But are we blaming AJ Preller for their 0-12 record in extra innings? Like, is AJ Preller the one that's batting with a runner at second and nobody out, and not coming through? Or is this all on the players? The fact that this has just been historically bad in those close games.
Yeah, no, and I think the point that, if they had just come through in 5 of those games, they'd basically be in the wild card mix right now. Right. They don't even have to have a winning record in extra innings for that to be the case. And so that is kind of the overarching thing with this team is like, yeah, there is truth to if our numbers in, big spots situationally were different, we might not be having these conversations. But I do think, you hire Bob Melvin to be Bob Melvin. Yeah. And if you don't allow him to be Bob Melvin, what's the point of having Bob Melvin?
So what is so what do you mean by that? When you say you hire Bob Melvin to be Bob Melvin, they hired what? What were they trying to accomplish, and has he gone off path at all in your opinion over the last 2 years? The guy they hired 2 years ago is the manager that they hired 2 years ago, what they thought they were getting?
No, what I'm saying is you thought you were getting one of the most respected guys in baseball, and you were getting one of the most respected guys in baseball who would track record of maximizing his talent. And you've all laid out, the issues in Oakland there, talent level and lack thereof, and lack of investment and all those things. You hire that guy and you step back and you let Bob cook and you live with the results. And based on what we read in Dennis Lin's piece, that hasn't been the case. There's too many voices. There's meddling. There's this and there's that. I just feel like it would be irresponsible and a shame to have, one of the most respected guys that has ever been in that seat, maybe in club history, and to not just be hands off and let him do his thing. It's not like meddling has helped, in Lin's piece, just you get the sense that AJ Preller just can't help himself but be involved. Where has that gotten you? If you feel like tightening up and being more involved when there's some struggles, Clearly that approach hasn't worked, didn't work in 2021. And, if not for them flipping the switch in mid-September last year, it would have been 3 straight years of this. I just think when you hire that guy, you let him be that guy because that's why you wanted him in the first place. And you don't get the sense that that's been the case. And I would love a 2024 season. Maybe it's the last that we have of Bob Melvin with the Padres in Major League Baseball, where he's just himself, has autonomy to be himself, and we see what the results are.
Yeah, because I don't know about you guys, but I just get the sense listening to Bob Melvin, pregame and postgame, the last half of this season, and more so the last couple of weeks here, even though they're winning a bunch of games, I don't feel like he is truly wanting to fully be here. I do think that there's a part of this that he's tired with. Like he's not like you said, Darnay. I don't think he's been able to be him full self here. I'm sure there's times where he is able to do that, but I do think there are issues 100% with him and AJ Preller. And to also your point, John, of like, well, is it AJ Preller's fault they're 0-12 this year in extra inning games? It's not. Okay, it's the players. But that's not why I'm firing AJ Preller. Like, I'm firing AJ Preller for a lack of winning over a 9-year span that at some point enough's enough. Like, that's the reason why. That's not, has nothing to do with 0-12 in extra innings. The players this year, their approach this year, guys, you've seen it. It's some of the worst at-bats you will ever see ever from a team in extra inning games with this much talent. It's crazy. And so, yeah, Bob Melvin, I think he should stay. I think Preller should go. And if Bob goes, Preller needs to go. That's how I view it.
A couple of things here. So I agree with you on the Preller thing. Like, this is more than just one poor season. They didn't live up to expectations multiple other times, including 2021 and 2019. So I completely agree with that. And
multiple bad articles too, like multiple articles kind of saying how dysfunctional your franchise is.
I don't think the articles matter as much. It's like, you're going to get the articles when you don't live up to the expectations. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people always want a motive. I would say people want to know why this didn't work. I feel like if you're 60 and 100 and you're supposed to go 160, what are they writing in the New York Post? What are they saying about the Yankees this year?
I don't know.
What are they saying about the Mets this year?
The fact that you had like 2 identical articles and that the second time around, pretty much everybody on the team was like, well, yeah. Like, I do think that says something.
Yeah,
it says that he does not learn from his mistakes.
But let me ask you this. To me, it's like, Darnay, what do you think here? To me, I'm like, I don't care about the dysfunction if they're winning. I mean, has AJ Preller changed as a GM since last year when they went 89-73 and made the National League Championship Series? Probably not. They just happen to win. Now they're losing and there's dysfunction. I get it. People would say there was dysfunction last year. It was covered up or masked by their winning. But is it as simple as that? There was dysfunction a year ago, and that same dysfunction exists? Well, then how come they had the best record in baseball in one-run games last year, and they have the worst record in one-run games this year? That's because of the organizational dysfunction that also existed last year?
Well, the problem is 3 out of the last 5 years, you had an embarrassment, words of Ron Fowler, once-in-a-century collapse, words of Peter Seidler, most disappointing season in franchise history, some saying Major League Baseball history. Okay, so this isn't a one-off situation. Now, if you flip that, in 2019, they continued to do in the second half what they did going into the All-Star break and really made a push. Maybe they just fell short. And maybe 2020, they had a down year during the pandemic, whatever. 2021, they come back, make the playoffs. 2022, maybe they just miss out. 2023, they have a great season. Like, if you flip this, then obviously you have more winning than losing, and it's easy to deal with the dysfunction because the results are better. But when Jim said we're 9 years into this, you've had 1 winning season in a full season, and 1 playoff appearance in a full season, all that. When the losing has been the norm, and the winning is hard to come by and few and far between, that's where I think the dysfunction is magnified, because you're right. Nobody would care if this were the last dance Chicago Bulls and nobody likes Jerry Krause and there's, dysfunction amongst the players, and who cares? It's the Chicago Bulls. Like, they're going to win a sixth, title. They're going to three-peat again. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about a situation where winning is really hard to come by, and maybe some of the dysfunction is what kind of cuts this team off at the knees to a degree.
And name one team, like you kind of did there, Darnay, with the Chicago Bulls in 98, the dysfunction there. But look what happened to the Bulls after that. Like, they've been a train wreck since 1998. Name me one franchise that you could say, yeah, they deal with dysfunction, but you know what? They overcome it and they win.
I think it's every 30 for 30 in the history of ESPN. I think there's a lot of examples. I think there's a ton of examples when you look back on the U in the 80s, the Bulls in the 90s. I think there are examples, the Mets in 86. I think there's a lot of examples of teams that overcome themselves to win.
But not a
lot. And by the way, I don't care if the Bulls haven't won since 98. That's a fair point. I understand your point. But they also won. Like, I don't care if the Padres don't win.
Jordan. This team doesn't have a player close to Michael Jordan.
They got Hall of Famers. I mean, they have very good players. I don't think it's
also baseball. You can't. It's baseball. It's different.
But I'm saying, if you win, are you going to kick that out of bed? If the Padres win the World Series, then are dysfunctional on the other side? Who cares? We've had that argument before, or conversation.
But they haven't.
They haven't.
I understand it, but I'm saying the dysfunction alone doesn't mean that you don't win.
But they're not winning.
But you're right. It's not just the fact there's dysfunction. It's the fact there's dysfunction on top of the not winning.
Like, if they were winning, you're right. I don't care. But they're not winning. And they haven't won. And they've won one time. And even that one time, we all agree here. Last year wasn't this like easy breezy season that the Braves are having this season, where like they're the best team miles away than everybody else. Last year was tough. 89 wins was not easy for this team to accomplish last year. And getting in the postseason, they had a great series versus the Mets and a great series versus the Dodgers. But they went 6-6 in the postseason, and they wet the bed against the Phillies.
Yeah, that's revisionist a little bit. I mean, I'd still prefer the 89 wins to the 111 wins of the Dodgers, who lost to the Padres. I mean,
neither team won a World
Series.
Series.
Was a really good year for the Padres.
It was.
They've been in a championship series 3 times in 60 years. It was a good year last year. This year is a huge disappointment.
But the winning from last year has not carried over at all to this season.
And that's why this 10-game winning streak, or 9 out of 10, doesn't guarantee that they start 2024 well.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
That's momentum, baby. Momentum to next year.
So what do we think happens? Darnay, 27. What do you think happens? You think Melvin's back?
If you asked me a couple weeks ago, I'd say probably not. Now I feel like maybe there's a decent chance.
You think Preller's back?
I don't, it's funny how it's flipped.
If it's so cut and dry, then why is Preller going to be back? I guess is my point.
What do you mean?
If it's so cut and dry, all they do is lose. They're dysfunctional. It's a disaster. He's back because of just Peter Seiler doesn't see it. He doesn't see it.
Yes.
This really smart man who's done a lot of really good work doesn't see it.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, his love for AJ and his term of him, his excellence, is a massive blind spot for Peter. And I hope he figures it out.
I could see a world where he believes our best chances are with AJ Preller, because I believe in him, his excellence, and Bob Melvin. and saying, all right, we got to come together. Let's talk it out like adults. But I think our best opportunity to win is with the two of you together. Now let's sit down and work this out.
Wait till next Monday, Black Monday in Major League Baseball.
Sports
Darnay
Rap's
Tripp
gonna
will
be
be
lit.
back with us. Sports Rap. You can catch it tonight, by the way. NBC7's Roku channel at 9 p.m. Darnay, great to see you. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks, guys.
Up next, do not go anywhere. We will give away Guns N' Roses tickets on the other side. Plus, is Manny's blame towards the media misguided? It's next on Jon and Jim. Oh, Manny Machado speaking with the media after the regular season home finale. Is his blame of the media misguided or not? That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start their final road trip of the year with a 3-game series starting off in San Francisco with the Giants tonight. The fight for third place in the National League West. Anybody that tells you they're still fighting for a playoff spot, tell them to stop talking. Also, Blake Snell will make his final start in a Padres uniform tonight. Aztecs lost their first conference game.
Maybe.
What?
Scheduled to pitch this weekend in Chicago, too.
Oh, you think he's going to risk it versus the White Sox? Aztecs lost the first conference game of
tonight.
Aztecs, because they're fighting for third place, bro. The Aztecs lost their first conference game this past Friday to Boise State. Next up for the Aztecs, a trip to Air Force this Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts at AleSmith Brewing. And tonight is a doubleheader in the NFL. First up, Eagles take on the Buccaneers, followed by the Rams and Bengals at SoFi. You can listen to that game right here, starting at 5:15 on San Diego Sports 760. And this update has been brought to you by Staples.
All right, be listening in about 5 minutes, Jim. We're giving away Guns N' Roses tickets. Do not go anywhere.
I'm
We
listening.
will tell you when to call. This is Guns N' Roses, Snapdragon Stadium, October 1st, which is in like a week.
Yeah.
Visit Ticketmaster.com for tickets and info. Keep listening for your chance to win. 5 minutes, folks. We'll tell you when to call. Guns N' Roses tickets. Also today, Coldplay tickets for Thursday night at Snapdragon. Also today, a $50 gift card to Dobson's Bar to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. Really good giveaways today and all week long. Manny Machado. I mean, that's all you really have to say. He didn't play yesterday in the home finale. His team's not home until 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Manny Machado did not play yesterday in the home finale. He had a lot to say, though, post-game yesterday, Jim. Had a ton to say, in fact. What do you got?
All right, so just to set this up here, we're going to play Manny Machado coming up here, what he said post-game yesterday. And we're also going to play Aaron Judge, what he had to say post-game for the Yankees yesterday as well. I will say both teams are technically, for anybody out there that wants to throw the technical word at you, both teams are technically still in the hunt.
Neither has been mathematically eliminated entering today.
Correct.
Both are done, but neither has been mathematically eliminated.
Mathematically eliminated. Listen to how Manny addresses this point and the media, and then we'll play Aaron Judge. And I want you to just think about these. Both are the team leaders of their respective teams, and listen to what they both have to say. Here's Manny yesterday with the media.
I mean, we all knew all year what we're capable of, and obviously things didn't go as planned, as you guys planned. But unfortunately, we know how good we are and what we're capable of, and we've shown it over the last week or so, and we've shown spurts of it throughout the year. We just couldn't really put it together, and I think we. For sure, we definitely underperformed as a group. We didn't play to our best abilities, and as a group, we're better than that, and we know that. And deep down inside, we're going to continue to grow as a team and continue to be better for next year.
What's your perspective on the season Fernando had? A lot of question marks. He was coming off suspension, 2 surgeries, new position, how he handled it, and all of it.
I mean, we all know. Again, it goes back to you guys putting all these expectations on people and expectations on teams to do this and do that. At the end of the day, we all knew what he was going to do. He's Fernando Tatis Jr. He's been a beast his entire career. We knew what he was going to do this year, go out there and perform at the highest level and bring the energy every single day, and he did that. Learning a new position is not easy, but he's athletic. He's great. He's a great baseball player. He's a future Hall of Famer, and we had no doubt that he was going to go out there and have a season that he's capable of having. So, can it be different as a team? Yeah, for sure. But, overall, I think we knew what he was going to bring together.
Let me just ask this. 844-570-1360, 70470, started with team. Did the media put these expectations on the Padres, or did they put them on themselves coming off a National League Championship Series, then a Fan Fest saying we're going to win the World Series in 5 games?
He said it twice there, talking about expectations, your guys' expectations, right? Media's expectations. Now, he was asked a question about Fernando Tatis Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And Manny had some things in there like, okay, this is good. Like, this is what you want to hear.
Did.
And then you're like, takes just a super hard right turn.
Right.
And you're like,
I agree.
What are you doing? Like, why are you blaming the media, bro? Are you kidding me? We've actually seen people this year. I don't know if they're fully joking or not, but we have seen people in the text line, in the chat, a lot on social media. It's your guys' fault for having such high expectations for this team this year. And then what does Manny do at the end of the season? Talk about your guys' expectations. Like, I really don't know if he truly gets it. Like, I think he's a fantastic baseball player, Hall of Fame talent. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. They need Manny Machado to perform because they need him desperately. They're going to have him for the next 10 years. I don't know if he truly gets it when he says some things that he says.
I think he gets it. I just can't. Imagine not being able to live up to the expectations. Like, I'll kind of disparage yourselves. Like, you can't live up to the expectations of what have been being levied on you on San Diego Sports 760.
Give me a
and
break.
then in the newspaper of the Union Tribune. Like, come on. Like, that's utter ridiculousness. You just got to perform, and don't blame anyone other than yourself for your lack of performance. All right, that's one way to address it. That's Manny Machado's way.
Media.
What about Aaron Judge, New York Yankees? Also, again, eliminated, but not technically eliminated. This was Aaron Judge with the media yesterday.
A lot of stuff going on around here that needs to be fixed. I'll tell you guys every year, I'm not standing here talking to you guys after a championship. It's a failure. Got a lot of work to do, a lot of internal talks, a lot of stuff we got to get figured out.
Do you plan on being part of those talks when it comes to what to do this offseason?
Oh, yeah, I got some ideas. But it's going to take all of us. It's going to be talking with everybody in the organization, all the way down through the minor league stuff, all the way up to the top.
What 2 players did you just hear from? Caller 5 with the correct answer. You have 2 tickets to Guns N' Roses. Caller 5, 844-570-1360. Let Brent know what 2 players you just heard from. 844-570-1360. Caller 5, you have 2 free tickets to Guns N' Roses at Snapdragon Stadium, October 1st. All right, what do you make of what Aaron Judge said?
He said, if I'm not standing here talking to you guys after a championship, it's a failure. That's, you've asked me a lot. Like, what do you want them to say? Right? You've asked, I've heard this a lot. What do you want these players to say? That. I want that. I want that right there. What Aaron Judge said right there, Like that's when anybody asks me, you text line, the chat, when anybody asks me, what do you expect Manny to say? He's saying like, what do you expect?
Didn't you just say that about what do you expect from Joe Musgrove in his AP article with Bernie Wilson?
Talking about Manny.
But I mean, didn't we just say, we're saying the same thing. Like, what do you expect the players to say? Of course, they're going to come to the defense of the team. You know, what do we expect the players to say?
Well, that's a defense of the team, not talking about the season.
Yeah.
Okay. And some players, like I give Joe a lot of credit. He says a lot of things that you're like, you get behind, you're like, that's what, you should say if you're a team leader. But hearing Manny yesterday essentially throw out there the media expectations and talking about, well, the expectations you guys had for us, like, how about you look yourself in the mirror and the expectations that you should have on yourself? This is not about the media. This is about you guys. You were the ones that came into spring training this year after that crazy Fan Fest. The first thing that you were talking about at Fan Fest was World Series. Right. I know it's the play up to the crowd, but you have to also know, bro, the second you guys get officially eliminated, all of those things that you guys said at Fan Fest are going to be blown up on social media.
Right. Receipts, so to speak.
The receipts are there.
They're on social media
and
everywhere.
Then you come into spring training and you hijack it the first week because you want your contract and you say you're going to opt out. And then you have a horrible year amidst a season that the failure of everybody in that clubhouse is duly noted to have one of the worst season as far as expectations go in franchise history. And then you follow that all up with, well, the media and your guys' expectation for us. Like, give me a break, dude. Give me a freaking break.
Listen, Manny Machado is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. I think with Padres fans, by and large, I think Padres fans have sided with Manny Machado for the better part of the last 5 years. And at the end of the day, and I've said this before, there's a reason he's polarizing. Like, he is brutally honest. You may not like it. You may prefer what Aaron Judge had to say. At the end of the day, and I prefer what Aaron Judge had to say. At the end of the day, you know what Aaron Judge and Manny Machado have in common? They're both missing out, no matter what they say.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really change anything. Manny Machado could get down on his hands and knees and apologize to every single fan at Petco Park. It's still a disappointment.
And this is, we're not talking about this if the team is winning and if Manny is performing. Like,
I think even if the team's winning.
If the team winning, we're not talking about this. We're talking about, I think we would talk more about on the field stuff like, hey, can Manny's whatever in the ALC, the NLCS,
can he get going in the postseason?
Can he get going in the postseason?
Yeah,
can he come up clutch? Like, we're going to be looking at his postseason numbers and how did that break down, right? Just black and white facts. Like, if he was 2 for 10 in a series, right, with 5 strikeouts, you're like, okay, he didn't perform. That's a fact. But because the team didn't perform this year, we're talking about all this stuff. I just think there's a lot of him versus the media, and it's happened, every year that he's been here. There's just like this him versus the media type of thing. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's confusing to me that when he's saying like, he is the type of guy that I'm sure you go in that clubhouse and you look over at Manny and you go, I wonder which way the wind's blowing today with Manny. Is he in a good mood? Because he can be fantastic with the media. Or is he in a bad mood? And then he goes at media people and he tries to be funny, but he's not really funny. It's more of like he's talking down to people. And you're like, what's the mood of Manny today, guys? Is Manny going to be good today, or is Manny going to, blame the media?
I don't think it's a San Diego thing at all. I think it's Manny Machado.
That's what I mean.
I think he's always been like this.
No, it's a Manny thing.
And I think he's had a mistrust of the media based on the way that he perceives he's been treated throughout the course of his career. There's some massive moments.
How easy
in Manny's
he has it here?
Career.
How easy he has it?
If he was in New York saying what he was saying and Aaron Judge was here, first of all, Aaron Judge would be a blip nationally compared to what Manny Machado was saying. And just imagine how vilified he'd be by the New York media. All right, on the other side, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend. Still ahead, by the way. Taylor Swift. That's all you have to say. Like, what's bigger than the NFL? Taylor Swift is. Our reaction to what's going on there with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey. Still ahead. Your chance to win tickets to see Coldplay Thursday night, Snapdragon Stadium. Best and worst of the sports weekend. Is that good? Next on Jon and Jim. Hey guys, it's Schaefer again. I've been telling you about Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered for all your game day needs, including this upcoming weekend. Get ready for all the football going on this time of year over at Windmill Farms. They've got organic, farm fresh produce and meats as good as you can find anywhere. They have an amazing craft beer selection, by the way, as good as you can find anywhere. And head over to their deli for award-winning sandwiches throughout the course of your work week. Great spot to pick up sandwiches for lunch during your work week is over at Windmill Farms. They're centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard, across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa. Windmill Farms is your family-owned market. They've been serving the San Diego area for 20 years. You can visit windmillfarmsmarket.com. There you're going to find their weekly specials. You can also check them out on Instacart. Have your groceries delivered to your doorstep. Windmillfarmsmarket.com. And a reminder, shop local, shop at Windmill Farms. All right, Bernie Wilson, AP, wrote about Padres players pushing back at this dysfunction claim. It's like the number 2 article at ESPN.com this morning, by the way, when I woke up.
I'm also pretty confident that when we get Bernie on, he will take full blame for this season.
As he should.
Right. It's the media's fault. At the end of this year, John, I do think we should take blame for this year.
Well, I think Bernie should. I'm not going to take
should.
blame.
I'll take a little blame.
Anybody that had expectations should take blame.
Yes.
Why wouldn't the team have expectations? Let's just go down this idea that the media had expectations. Why wouldn't the team?
Like even if somebody Bryce, oh my God.
Let's say they wrote an article.
Yeah.
The Padres will win 100 games this year, and here's why.
Right.
Or the Padres will win the World Series this year, and here's why. Well, wouldn't the team want to go down that same path?
That's kind of what I thought too, John, was, shouldn't the team's expectations be way higher than anybody else's, including the media's?
What were their expectations? To go 81 and 81 and finish in fourth?
Didn't you guys have the same expectations?
Manny's sitting at his locker in the clubhouse reading like AJ Cassavell, like, guys, did you see this?
He said we're going to win 95 games.
He said we're going to win 95 games.
If someone said Tatis is going to hit 40 home runs, I hate that guy.
Those expectations are crazy.
Isn't that a bad, you guys said Tatis is going to have this great year. Okay, I bet Fernando Tatis Jr. thought the same thing. What were we supposed to think? He's supposed to have an awful year? Would that have made this better if we said that Fernando Tatis Jr. was going to be terrible? Tatis has been fine. This isn't about expectations. This is about failing to live up to the bargain. You just haven't performed collectively, individually.
Yeah, congratulations. This season is now known as the biggest disappointment in franchise history.
Franchise history, yes.
Not for all of baseball, because the Mets are saying, hey, hold my beer.
3 other teams.
Right. Yeah. But they're up there for sure. I mean, if you put this team at, you can make a very good argument for why they are the most disappointing team in baseball history. I wouldn't say that they are, but there's an argument there. There's an argument there for sure.
It's absolutely the most disappointing team in franchise history. All right, Bernie Wilson will join us coming up in 10 minutes. We've got those Restaurant Week gift cards to give away during Trainwreck Radio in the 4 o'clock hour. We will give away tickets to see Coldplay in the 5 o'clock hour. We have Monday Night Football tonight at 5:15 here on San Diego Sports 760. But right now, let's get to this.
Well, the Padres had another opportunity to finally get their first extra inning win of the year on Saturday night. I loved how when there was a little bit of pressure back on this team, they went 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position, and they lost in extra innings again, falling to 0-12 on the year. John, they're hitting 145 as a team in extra innings this year. They've only scored 7 runs in extra innings this year. Brent, is that good?
It's about Melvin's fault.
It's Melvin's fault.
Are you kidding
Melvin's fault.
It's definitely Melvin's fault.
Yeah, media's fault.
All right, I'm going to give you something that actually could be perceived as potentially good. Juan Soto is in the midst of a career-best 27-game on-base streak. Maybe I jinxed it. I'm not overly concerned. We'll see if he reaches base tonight. He's hit 351 over those 27 games. He's getting on base at a 467 clip over those 27 games. Brent, is that good?
It is good!
Last night,
yeah, what was this? I was watching this. What were they doing?
I was yelling at my TV, and I didn't even care who won the game, but I was yelling at my TV. If you didn't watch the Raiders-Steelers game last night, Josh McDaniels, with about 2:30 left in the game, actually, take that back, scratch that. With about 3:45 left in the game, on 4th and 5 from like their 30, or from the Steelers 30, they kick a long field goal. And I'm like, wait a second here. They get a penalty against the Steelers. So they get a free first down. They get down to the goal line. It's 4th and goal. They kick a field goal. They hurt themselves because now there's only 2:20 left on the clock. Down by 8. You kick a field goal down by 8 with 2:20 left on the clock, and you never got the ball back. You lose that game, and after the game, Josh McDaniels thought that it was a 2-score game.
I heard him say that.
Is that good?
No, it's not good. Are you kidding me?
That's a fireable offense.
I just think your expectations for Josh McDaniels are too high.
I mean, it was 4th and 4.
Yeah.
It wasn't 4th and 44. It was 4th and 4
from like
inside
the
10.
From like the 6 or 7.
Yeah, like you have to go for it. Like you literally, I was shocked they didn't go more critically at McDaniels during the play-by-play on the broadcast. Like, oh, that's interesting. I understand it. I don't understand it at all. It made absolutely no sense.
By the way, I do feel a little vindicated on my Jimmy G.
Based on
these
3 games.
Yeah.
All right, Miami, by the way, yesterday in the 70-20 rout of the Broncos became the first team in NFL history with 5 rushing touchdowns and 5 passing touchdowns in the same game. They beat Denver 70-20. Is that good?
It is good!
That was crazy.
I have like a gripe with Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus refused to shut this game off. At no point were they like, hey, let's see if there's a more competitive game for our youth. They're like, no, screw it. We don't like you guys. You're going to sit here and watch this. We don't care if it gets to 70
did you know that Fox went away from the Chiefs-Bears game because that was such a big blowout too?
That's what they're supposed to do.
And they went to the Cowboys-Cardinals game.
I went away from the Chiefs-Bears game too because it wasn't fun to watch.
It was a big point in my house that we had to watch the Chiefs game yesterday because of Taylor Swift. And when it wasn't on TV, that was a little bit of a problem.
It was. I didn't even realize it was on Fox yesterday, not CBS.
Because of the Bears.
Yeah,
I got you. It was. I
don't know why, but anyway, it was on Fox. It was on the number one team, number one crew. Number one crew on Fox.
They got rid of that though. They got rid of that this year.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. There's no more conference affiliation with networks. They can flip-flop them.
Yeah. And finally, Notre Dame lost on the last second touchdown run by Ohio State. Problem was the final 2 plays of the game, Notre Dame had only 10 men on the field on defense. Is that good?
No, it's not good. Are you kidding me?
Who's their head coach?
Want to talk about fireable fences?
Oh my God,
their defensive coordinator Al Golden, who's a longtime head coach. I don't know how you can do that. I mean, they did not have a defensive end where Ohio State ran the football to.
And your excuse
they did not
was
have a defensive end on the right side of the line.
And your excuse was you didn't want to get a penalty. It didn't matter because you're at the goal line.
Yeah, no, they couldn't even. There's no excuse.
None.
There's no excuse. Then finally, Padres have the best run differential since 1998 for the franchise. They're second best ever in franchise history. It's plus 91 runs. It's third best in the National League, Brent. Is that a good run differential?
It is good! No,
it's both.
Are you kidding me?
Very bad.
Yeah, it's both.
How can you have a plus 100 run differential and be under 500? If they accomplish that, by the way, this will be the best run differential in baseball history to be under 500.
I have 2 answers for you real quick. 1,
dysfunction.
Bob Melvin's fault. 2, media's fault.
Yeah, and 3, dysfunction. All right, Bernie Wilson from the AP. Are Padres players pushing back on the dysfunction narrative? Is it a narrative? Bernie Wilson wrote about that today. Also coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to Restaurant Week, actually a gift card to Restaurant Week. In the 5 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to see Coldplay. It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim, and it's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start their final road trip of the year starting tonight in San Francisco versus the Giants. Blake Snell will make potentially his final start of the season for the Padres tonight. Battle for third place, John. They're tied with the Giants for third place. Moving over to the Aztecs last Friday night. They lost their first conference game to Boise State. They now are 2-3 on the year, and they travel to Air Force coming up this Saturday, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. And there's a doubleheader in the NFL tonight, starting with the Eagles taking on the Buccaneers, followed by the Rams and the Bengals. You can listen to that game right here at 5:15. And this update has been brought to you by Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We're with you tonight until 5:15 because we have Monday Night Football tonight from Cincinnati. Bengals and Rams at 5:15. JB Long, friend of the show, will be on the call. This hour will give away a $50 gift card to celebrate San Diego's Restaurant Week. Next hour, we'll give away a pair of tickets to see Coldplay at Snapdragon Stadium. That'll be on Thursday night. Bernie Wilson from the AP joining us here on Jon and Jim. Bernie, it's always great to have you. I feel as if, are you one of the media members that's taking responsibility for the Padres' poor play? I feel like a lot of this has been placed on the media. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to take some responsibility for the way the Padres have played this year?
You know, when I look at the back of my baseball card, I got a preview to throw it right back in you know whose face. I got a preview of my 2024 baseball card from Topps. Shows a 0.00000 batting average.
Not great.
No ops, no OBP, and 100 errors. So yeah, it's my fault.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. 100%.
My fault. I think I need a new glove, but yeah, I take full responsibility for a $250 million roster pulling the biggest face plant in franchise history.
No, I agree with you, Bernie. You need to do better next year, and it's unacceptable. But
yeah, you know, it was. This is dating myself, but you know what? 3 Mile Island was my fault too.
Brett is
everything's your fault.
Everything is your fault. Yeah. Brett's cracking up in the control room over there.
Jim has no idea. Look, can we quiz Jim?
I have no idea.
3 Mile Island. Tell me anything about it.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay,
Harrisburg, nuclear reactor, 1980.
Let me add this. It's also my fault that the Beatles broke up.
Do you know who the Beatles are?
Jim?
Yes, John. It
wasn't Yoko. It was me.
He knows who Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift is.
Right.
If you get about what he knows.
Yeah, I'm going to go that far back, but I understand that reference, Bernie. Okay. But in all seriousness here, you know, the fact that was coming out of this clubhouse yesterday, as far as, you know, media expectations go, from a guy who has been in the news of late and has not had a good season and kind of hijacked the start of the year because he wanted to get his money in his contract. Just what have you made of Manny Machado's overall year this year with everything included?
Well, the first thing I thought, I didn't bother waiting him out yesterday because I wrote strictly about El Nino's jaw-dropping catch. I didn't need anybody else. So for me, it was all Bebo all the time. But then I saw the clip this morning of Machado, you know, saying, what was it? It goes back to you guys putting all these expectations on people. Well, I guess the next question should have been, well, Manny, weren't you the one who said, don't jump on the bandwagon later on when we start bleeping raking? It's like, when did you start raking, Manny? Or will that be this week? You know, it's weak, but he's not the first guy to blame the media and won't be the last guy. As far as everything that's swirling around, there's obviously something there. My problem with all that, I had to do a follow-up story of people saying, "Oh, it's not dysfunctional. There is something," but nobody's offering specifics. We don't allow people to hide behind anonymity. Look, there have been whispers since April that something was off, and clearly the performance on the field told you that it was.
Yep.
What were they? A game above 500 in April. That's not exactly how a superstar-laden roster is really supposed to launch a season. And I got, I'll admit, I got a little bit sucked into the hype too. FanFest was pretty cool. You got these 4 superstars, but by mid-season, we were just calling them stars. We sort of dropped the super a little bit, just to try to put things in perspective. But there's something going on that isn't right. It'd be great if guys could just be honest and say what it is, but that's not how society works. It's not how professional sports works. But Preller told me, Manny, it's not all on Manny. Manny's not the only leader in there. They built this club purposely with other leaders. Joe Musgrove essentially said the same thing. There's, other leaders in there, and he sort of blamed everybody, including himself, for not getting a hold of the situation earlier. I think, it's funny that Machado's blaming the press for expectations. And I believe that was in response to a question about the season that Tatis has had, which has been spectacular. But look, the guy was coming off how many days away from baseball 500, 2 surgeries, 80-game PED suspension. There were legitimate questions. Which Bebo was going to come back?
Mm-hmm.
The one who was an all-star in 2021 at shortstop, or, a guy who was going to be learning a new position? Absolutely legitimate questions. So I think I guess we have the right to respond. It sounds like, at least Machado and some of these other guys read all their press clippings, and maybe they took themselves too seriously. In fact, Machado at one point told somebody, I don't hang around scrums too long after games because I got a thing called deadline. The entire world is waiting breathlessly for my dispatch. I believe he told somebody, I read what all you MFers write, which is fine. Now Dan Fouts apparently used to say stuff after games like, why don't you MFers get over here and let's get this over with? Now, if I'm going to be called an MFer by one guy, it would be Dan Fouts.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy, it's like start raking and then call us MFers.
All right, interesting. This is interesting, Bernie. Bernie Wilson from the AP with us right now on Jon and Jim. So, what we're alluding to here is what you wrote today in the AP that's headlined, at least some places. I know you're not writing the headline, but Padres push back amid reports of organizational dysfunction. Do you see it as some type of narrative to push back on what the Athletic and the Union Tribune reported and published, as if it's concerted?
Well, no, and actually that was my headline.
Okay.
And I really hate doing follow-ups on reports that rely exclusively on content attained by giving guys anonymity. Okay, the AP policy is hard and fast, and let me read it to you. We can only grant anonymity if the material is information and not opinion or speculation. Okay, so, and of course they're going to push back. What are they going to say? Yeah, we are dysfunctional, and Manny's a terrible leader and a terrible person. I mean, everybody I talked to said he's a great leader and offered up a few examples here and there. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to say? And what's Preller going to say? I mean, Preller just got savaged by that report. What's he going to say? Yeah, I'm the worst GM, and I really hope that Seidler fires me before the season ends.
Imagine that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it'd be a Pulitzer Prize winner for sure, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. And again, we generally, An editor told me a long time ago, we worry about our shop, we don't worry about other people's shops. But when you read anonymous quotes from former club employees, it's like, do you seriously not have the cojones to put your name on this? I mean, let's be realistic. Preller is probably still reviled by a certain number of franchises. So, for the medical stuff and other stuff. And if you work for a franchise that reviles him, come out and, if you got something to say, put your name on it.
Mhm.
Don't be a coward. I guess people are afraid if they speak honestly and openly that either their current employer will hold it against them or a future employer will. But, again, what would you expect Preller or anybody else, to say when, confronted with this stuff?
No,
Now,
absolutely.
the other thing, I never ever thought I would defend a guy like Machado, but it's funny that other people were granted anonymity to talk about Machado and other issues. There are clearly other issues in that clubhouse. Yet Machado was expected to speak on the record. That to me, look, at some point, we don't have to like each other, the dynamic in their player versus media, but you do try to be fair, respectful, etc. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just the take from the peanut gallery here.
Yeah, no, I get you there, Bernie.
Oh, the other thing too is, do any of these guys who were allowed to speak on condition of anonymity, did they try to talk things out with Machado beforehand?
That is also a good point.
One-on-one at any point of the season? Did they maybe try it twice? I know that, there's a quote, something about, the player asked about confronting Machado, something like, the look was, you look like a six-headed monster or something. I'm probably botching it, but how about manning up? And, these guys are all highly paid professionals, top of the line, maybe act like an adult and, either, and I don't know that confront's the right word, but talk things out. And then if it doesn't work, maybe try some other route to getting it done. Then I'm asking for, I don't know if they asked for anonymity or if anonymity was offered. But again, I go back to our policy. We don't grant anonymity unless, the source asks for it with a very specific good reason.
Right.
So, and let's admit this, the current media climate in America today is the media is generally distrusted.
Mm-hmm.
And, the more you present things anonymously, the more people probably roll their eyes.
Right. Yeah. And, looking at this team, it feels like they almost like, well, this needed to come out for us to talk about it. And I'm with you there. This should have been dealt with before any of this stuff was ever written, because that's what, teams should do. And that's what good leaders should have be done. And I agree with that 100%. The fact that this team has had 1 million team meetings this year and had another one after these reports to, like, quote unquote, clear up some things, I think is a big reason why they are where they are today. And Bernie, looking at, switching topics here with Bob Melvin, do you believe Bob Melvin should get the brunt of the blame for this season to the point where he should be fired?
Only if the blame is, I don't believe he should get the brunt of it. I believe that if there is going to be blame, it should be passed around in equal amounts, equal servings.
Mm-hmm.
Melvin, Preller, Seidler, all 26 guys in that clubhouse. Obviously it's much easier to fire one guy, as it has been throughout the history of sports, than to totally clean house. And it's not like they can totally clean house with all these contracts hanging around their necks for the next 10 years or 11. But I don't know. That's the whole thing. Should it be Melvin? Should it be Preller? Look, those of us who've covered this team for a long time know that Peter Seidler loves Preller. In fact, the first question I asked of Seidler after Preller was suspended for that medical records thing in 2016 was, "Are you going to fire him?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "No, of course not. I'm not going to fire him."
Yeah.
Seidler loves Preller, at least, and I hope Peter's okay with the medical issue, but it's well known that he loves Preller. Now, if I've seen things that Bob might resign or step away or whatever, why would you walk away from $4 million? I would think, and this is just strictly opinion on the record, if I were Melvin and I got the sense that there was pressure to resign, I'd say, no, fire me so that I can get all my money.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, $4 million, why would you walk away from that? Even, he's been doing this for about 20 years now, so he's probably, got a pretty good stash in the bank. Why would you walk away from $4 million? I just find that ludicrous.
Like anybody could deal with AJ Preller for $4 million. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, unless he goes up to Preller and says, "Pay me what I'm due for next year. Let's put it in writing, and I'll walk away and be done with this dysfunctional thing." Wouldn't it be great if Bob said that on the record?
I would love it.
Bernie,
okay,
what's that?
Oh, one other thing I want to add, and I know this is going to tick off some Padre fans, but too bad.
Uh-oh.
You don't see this kind of dysfunction in the Dodgers clubhouse, and you don't see it in the Phillies clubhouse. Now, I know that's a little bit of a small sample size, but I've seen enough of the Dodgers clubhouse this year to know they like each other, they hold each other accountable. Guess what? They won the division. I saw enough over the last 2 years of what a leader Bryce Harper has become in the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just figured I'd throw that out there for comparison's sake, and because the AP writes about the winning side after games, I've seen a lot more of the visiting clubhouse this year than I have of the Padres clubhouse.
No doubt. Bernie, good insight. Again, I think some of the blame probably goes your way, but like you said, it should be shared. We'll take some of it.
I'll take some of it.
Well, look, I think you guys should shoulder the blame. You guys are the most negative nabobs I've ever experienced.
Yeah, Jim gets that a lot. Yes,
I do.
No doubt. Padres win 9 straight. It's like, what's gone wrong?
Right.
Everything's a nightmare.
Yeah, everybody should be happy with the 9-game winning streak, Bernie.
Bernie, thank you.
Well, remember, video killed the radio star. You guys are living on borrowed time.
True.
I agree.
That's why we're doing a lot of video.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bernie.
Oh, that's true. Okay. All right, guys. See ya.
Bernie Wilson.
Bernie.
From the AP. I mean, interesting perspective. I mean, it really is. I mean,
I do agree with him on the fact that, like, and this is what Kevin told us, is that the sense from a lot of people that he talked to, current people in the Padres, was that they wanted this to get out so things could change. And that is something that what Bernie was alluding to there is like, why even have to go that route? Like, why couldn't you just go to the source yourself?
Because what Kevin said is because those that go to Manny Machado are looked at like they have 6 heads.
I know.
But it is I mean, listen, Bernie pushed back a lot at the reporting in the Athletic and the UT. Make no mistake. He's pushing back at the reporting in the Athletic and the UT. I mean, he did for the better part of 10 minutes. You may agree with what he's saying. You may disagree. But he's certainly pushing back at the idea that a lot of this reporting comes from people that are not being quoted on the record. I would say the opposite side of that is it's really tough for me, Tom Cosgrove, for example, to be quoted publicly about Manny Machado's leadership style and expect to be a valued member of the team moving forward. Like, you got to think about yourself. Is Tom Cosgrove going on the record? I'm making it up, hypothetically, and saying Manny Machado needs to change, and here's why?
No.
He can't really do it.
No, you can't. I agree. You can't.
Know?
There's a lot of this. The last, 2 of the last 3 years have been this exact thing, and
he agreed there's issues.
Yeah, everyone agrees there's issues.
But he wasn't able to put it to someone on record. Like when he talks to Fernando Tatis or Joe Musgrove, like, Manny's a great leader.
Well, they're not going to do that.
But when they're not quoted publicly,
because that's what
by name,
because that's what good leaders do, is they don't throw people under the bus.
Exactly.
They deal with it internally. They make sure it doesn't get out, and that's what happens. That's what good leaders do. So of course you're never going to see Joe, or you're never going to see Tatis put it on another player currently in that clubhouse.
There is dysfunction because Bob Melvin agrees to it, Eric Grupner agrees to it, and Joe Musgrove in Bernie's article says obviously there were things that went on in the clubhouse this year that we didn't do a very good job of addressing and handling. I think if we address some of those things sooner instead of kind of letting them fester, some of that stuff might have worked itself out. Clear as day.
Very clear as day. And it shows how there was nobody in that clubhouse to step up at all, including Joe, unfortunately. For all the praise that I give Joe, unfortunately, he's part of the problem. Like for this year, like for what he just said there.
Yeah.
And to have this article by Kevin come out and that caused the potential, like, clearing up of things is kind of a joke.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Like you needed that.
Like you needed that from Kevin to really have things aired out.
It's almost like Kevin did them a service.
That's what he was saying. Kevin was like, I've had people tell me like
thank you.
Like this needs to come out.
Write it before it's too late. He should have written it 2 weeks earlier. And then maybe they'd have 5 more wins to their credit.
It just shows the lack of a true leader.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In that club.
I agree with that. All right. So what's bigger than the NFL? Taylor Swift.
Easily.
Plus the NFL, the reaction around the league to Taylor Swift at Arrowhead. Plus, we've got a gift card to give away to Restaurant Week. Plus, we have tickets to give away to Coldplay Monday Night Football at 5:15. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey, National Football League. We react next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres, they start their final road trip of the year. The battle for third place tonight in San Francisco versus the Giants. Blake Snell making probably his final start in a Padres uniform. Moving over to the Aztecs. They lost to Boise State this past Friday night. They're 2-3 on the year. Next up for them, Air Force this Saturday, 5 p.m. kickoff. 3 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts at Ale Smith Brewing and right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the doubleheader for Monday Night Football is underway with the Eagles in Tampa Bay taking on the Buccaneers, scoreless in the first quarter there. And tonight, right here on channel 760, you can listen to the Rams taking on the Bengals. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
Taylor Swift, like what's bigger? Deion Sanders dominated the sports cycle for a month. Dude, there's no comparison to Deion's impact on college football in the sports world to Taylor Swift's Sunday.
None.
And this past weekend in Kansas City, right?
There is no comparison. And to just show you how big Taylor Swift is.
Yeah.
So let's just put this in perspective here. She just went to the Chiefs game to watch her new, I guess, boyfriend. Item. I don't know. I think they're dating.
They have to be,
They're
right?
officially dating. There's no chance in hell that you go to this guy to go to Travis Kelsey's game, sit in a press box
With his mom?
With his mom.
Right.
You're dating. And you're also seen together leaving the stadium in a convertible.
Correct.
And Travis Kelsey rents out an entire restaurant for you and his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Maybe
dating.
he friend zoned her.
No, they're dating.
They're dating.
They're dating. But yesterday, the NFL announced the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah.
Which was Usher.
Yeah.
The NFL said, yeah, okay, that was old news. All we care about is Taylor Swift. And to prove that point, on the NFL TikTok, they put as their bio, 9/24/23, Taylor was here. They completely just said, oh, yeah, Usher's the halftime show. What? Taylor Swift's at an NFL game watching Travis Kelsey with Travis Kelsey's mom? Oh, yeah, that's the number one story. And it has dominated the headlines. My entire TikTok is all Taylor Swift's. And it's all Swifties.
Well, the brilliance of it is now the NFL is already this massive media brand, the biggest sports brand in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You then ignite it with what's going on with Taylor Swift over the last 12 months and her popularity.
Unbelievable.
And the excitement around her fans.
Yeah.
And like you combine those two, and we talked about it a moment ago, like Travis Kelsey's, everything's going up.
The Kelseys
NFL's going up, Kelsey's viewership and Instagram this and Twitter that.
Their podcast this week
blew up.
Is going to be the most listened to podcast episode ever.
Dude, Bill Belichick is chiming off on Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift. Bill Belichick, the most boring head coach in the history of the NFL. This was Bill Belichick yesterday.
Can I try one that's not about the Cowboys? Swiftie to Swiftie. Taylor Swift was in attendance to watch Travis Kelsey's game with his mom in the box. Seems like they may be the new it couple. Where do you fall on that? Travis Kelsey, Taylor Swift, power couple in the NFL.
Well, I would say that Travis Kelsey's had a lot of big catches in his career. This would be the biggest.
Nailed it.
That's Bill Belichick.
I hadn't heard that. That's a good line.
It's a great line. It's a great line.
I figured it'd be like, well, we're worried about our opponent on Sunday.
And this isn't some just random NFL player. This is probably the best tight end in NFL history, along with Gronk. Like I would argue,
of course, he's great.
I would argue when it's all said and done, Travis Kelsey will be known as the greatest tight end in NFL history.
Yeah, but this has changed everything. Though.
No, with Travis Kelsey, he was a star, right? Now he is a global superstar.
Well, this transcends sports. It's like there's only so many sports fans, but when you turn it over to the other side of the coin, there's a lot of people that don't love sports. As big as the NFL is, when you now introduce him to Taylor Swift's audience,
I just hope that they can find happiness.
Dude, here's the issue. If this ends the way all the other relationships with Taylor's ex-boyfriends end, then it's going to be December. He's going to drop every football. He's going to miss every block.
I have never seen Aaron want anything more in life than to see, hopefully, a budding, great, long-lasting relationship between Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift.
Kristen's into it too. I don't understand it.
It's incredible how yesterday we were grocery shopping and she was getting her nails done. I was in the grocery store getting some food, and I look on Twitter and I see that she's at the game. I send it to Aaron, and immediately she starts freaking. She's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" And we get home. The first thing we did that she wanted to do was turn on the Bears Kansas City game. We turned it on right in time for him to catch that touchdown, and Taylor it's going to be a meme forever of her saying the LFG.
Yeah, exactly.
In the press in the suite with Travis's mom, and just to show you how big yesterday was for just Travis in general. Okay. His merchandise sale yesterday, John, was up plus 400%.
Makes sense.
He is now the top 5 selling jersey in the NFL. And he gained over 300,000 plus social media followers. Swifties are a group that literally you do not want to mess with because of how large the Swifties are.
You don't think Aaron wanted to get home and watch the game because of how good of a game it was between the Chiefs and the Bears?
Well, at this time we turned it on, it was already, I believe, 34-0.
It was 34-0 when the game started.
Yeah.
By the way, Patrick Mahomes, after the game about Taylor Swift in the building, had this to say.
Do you realize how much pressure there was on you today from the Swifties to get Travis Kelsey a touchdown with Taylor in the house today?
Yeah, I heard she was in the house.
Did you feel it? Did you feel the pressure, Patrick?
I thought a little bit of pressure, and so I knew I had to get it to Trav. And of course, it's on a route that Travis he does his own thing and just makes up a route, and I throw it to him. So I think he wanted to get in the end zone just as much as all the Swifties wanted him to.
The NFL is sitting there and is like, "Oh my God, we just gained millions and millions of millions and millions of new fans."
Just what they needed
because of Taylor Swift.
They were really hurting for fandom and money. But if there's one thing the NFL needed was to become more popular.
But you do know like how this feels different, like the transcendent of sport here between pop, like the biggest superstar on the planet, and one of the best players in the NFL.
Right, this
dating.
is like Kardashian to the nth degree.
But this is even like Kardashian because there's no drama there. Like the Kardashians are always with drama. I feel like Taylor Swift, even though she hasn't had a full-on stable relationship in a long time, I feel like people are rooting for this. I'm rooting for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is it'll be a moment in time. Like, are they going to get married and settle down? And
No, they have to get married. They have to have kids. They have to have babies, and it has to be a love story.
You are into this. I think you're into this more than Aaron is into this. To be honest, would be my guess.
I mean,
a little bit.
I'm kind of into it.
Kristen's into it.
I'm kind of into it because I think it's so fascinating.
Is she going to be? Where are they next week? Where's Kansas City?
New York.
Ooh, against the Jets.
And I believe she lives in New York. Like she has a home in New York.
Yeah, makes sense.
So if she shows up to his game against the Jets,
is she like canceling future tours just to travel around with the Chiefs?
I'm pretty sure is next week a primetime game for the Chiefs and Jets?
Sunday Night Football.
Oh my gosh. Bro, this is going to be the greatest thing ever.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing I have to ask to your point. Kelsey merchandise through the roof. Taylor Swift interest through the roof.
Oh my gosh.
Is this at all like a marketing play?
No, I hope not.
Doesn't it feel a little bit like that?
I'm like my timeline is all about reports on Taylor Swift. Like last night at the restaurant, they were very, very affectionate with each other, according to reports. They were keeping it light-hearted and fun. And I don't think it's fake, dude. I don't think it's fake. I hope it's not fake, because if it's fake, there's going to be a lot of Swifties that are going to be mad at this.
Yeah, I don't know if you're probably right. There's no way Taylor Swift would do that. This isn't part of some like
she doesn't need the publicity,
but
dude.
That's what I'm saying. It's not part of some big marketing ploy, ad scheme.
Just sitting at home,
Super
she's like,
Bowl ad.
You know what? The one thing that I haven't taken over is NFL Sundays. Let me do that now.
How can you do anything? Like if you're Taylor Swift, how can you do anything? You basically have to rent out bars and restaurants. If you're Travis Kelsey, how can you do anything in public?
Did you see how they got her in and out of the suite yesterday?
No idea.
They because outside the suite, they had like military guards outside the suite. They had barricades up because of the fans that were there, right? Waiting for Taylor Swift to come out. They rolled her out in like a giant, one of those, I don't know, steel popcorn, like huge things that you could like, I don't know what they're called, but they had to wheel her out hiding from people because they didn't want everybody to go crazy because of this.
All right, incredible stuff. We'll see what happens next week. Sunday Night Football with the Chiefs in New York to take on the Jets right now. Let's get to this.
Taking a look back at the Aztecs.
Work back, hit as he let the ball go in the air. Intercepted on the down ball, downside of the ball, coming on down.
The Aztec Rewind. Brought to you by Windmill Farms, your natural food market located in Del Cerro.
Pass to the outside. That's a dangerous pass. Trifly intercept. Didn't get it. Made the catch. Balin Brooks down the sideline. Far side. Touchdown. Aztec.
Man, there were opportunities on Friday night. We were there. The offense, 450 plus yards, but critical turnovers. 2 fumbles from Jalen Maiden. San Diego State falls to Boise State 34-31. Chunk plays again. 200 plus rushing yards from Ashton Genty of Boise State, and it felt like a step forward with the offense, but again, defensively, just not enough stops against Boise State on Friday night.
The biggest things that were the problem Friday night, tackling, and then turnovers.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
I mean, they could not tackle at all, and the turnover at the goal line by Jalen, and then the other can't have that, man. You had 2 fumbles. It cost you, I think, 10 points.
I think 14.
Potentially
Boise
14.
Scored off the second fumble, a touchdown. And the first fumble, well, you were 6 inches away from scoring a touchdown.
Off of a 72-yard
return.
Kick return to start the game.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. It's frustrating that happened. They got to clean up a lot of stuff still. But if you're just looking at trying to take positives out of the game, yeah, the offense looked good. They still have not established a good enough running game, I feel like, other than Jalen Maiden scrambling, which is not really a true running game. But yeah, man, they got to clean up some stuff. And this weekend against Air Force is going to be a huge test after coming off of, I think, one of their worst tackling performances in a long time.
And was I the only one that at the end of that Ohio State Notre Dame game was like, That's the Aztec. They would have said he was down at the 1 when they reviewed that one.
Yeah. Oh, when he was
the game winner.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I mean,
because I thought I didn't think there was enough evidence to
show that the ball was moving.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to say he was down. It was ruled he was down the first drive of the game, then overturned. Such has been the breaks for San Diego State the last 3 weeks. They go to Air Force, like Jim said, Saturday at 5 p.m. Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer, featuring organic farm fresh produce and meats, an amazing craft beer selection, plus a full deli with award-winning sandwiches. Visit windmillfarmsmarket.com to see their weekly specials or check them out on Instacart. Aztec Rewind, presented by Windmill Farms. Call right now if you want a $50 gift card to Dobson's Bar to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. First 2 callers will be our contestants for a chance to win that $50 gift card for Restaurant Week. Call right now, 844-570-1360, 844-570-1360. Again, a $50 gift card. We'll play Trainwreck Radio. That's sports trivia. Call 844-570-1360 for that $50 gift card. Trainwreck Radio, that's next. All right, on the other side, Trainwreck Radio still ahead. Your chance to win tickets to see Coldplay. We have Monday Night Football tonight on San Diego Sports 760, Rams and Bengals at 5:15. Stay with us. All right, we have Coldplay tickets to give away. We'll do that coming up just after 5 p.m. We have Monday Night Football tonight, Rams Bengals. Is Joe Burrow playing or is he not playing?
He's playing.
He is playing.
Oh, he's playing. All right. That might change things potentially. This is a big game for Cincinnati, isn't it? 0-2. Rams 1-1. And Cincinnati, you basically have to win. Can you start 0-3?
Jim Facts.
What are the odds of making the postseason at 0-3?
You need to win. Not great.
Worse than at 0-2.
I mean, like 1%? Something 2%?
It's like the same percentage as the Padres had to make the playoffs
a week ago.
A week ago, yeah.
Padres, by the way,
got
some help earlier today. Diamondbacks lost.
That's great.
Jim, it's not over yet. Still alive entering tonight. In fact, they can't be eliminated tonight. Did you know that? So Manny's not gonna be able to say season's over after tonight.
Still a chance.
There's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
You guys want to guess what the percentage is?
Starting 0-3 and making the playoffs?
Yeah.
2%.
1%.
Price is Right rules Jim wins, but it's 2.4.
So how does Jim win if he said 1 and I said 2?
Because you went over.
You went over.
2
buddy.
is over 2.4?
Oh.
Yeah.
It is?
No, it's not.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay.
John wins.
All right, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Ron and we have Bill. Ron, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with Jim.
Wow. Ron. Good call, buddy. Good call. Bill, you get John. Are you good with that?
Yes, I am.
Cool.
All right. You can't really say no.
Right, true.
All right. Brent.
You should have granted him anonymity.
I know, right? Brent, what's today's question of the day?
I blame the media and Taylor Swift.
I just blame the media.
All right, guys. Right now on Monday Night Football, the Bucs are hosting the Eagles. Today's question: can you name the 7 passers in Bucs history with 10,000 or more passing yards with the team? So we're looking for the top 10 passers or top 7 passers in Bucs history. They've all thrown for 10,000 yards or more.
Okay. Bill, you were up first. What is your first guess? You do have your lifeline, which is John, if you choose to use it.
Let's use the lifeline.
Lifeline off the start. How about Tom Brady?
Yes.
Boom.
All right.
How many years was he there? 3?
3? Yeah. He threw like
slightly nervous, but he throws for 1,000,000 yards.
Yeah, I think he threw for the most yards in the NFL one year.
Right,
20 to 22.
Okay.
Yeah. Ron, you're up next. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm gonna have to go lifeline also.
Okay. Trying to think here real quick. I have a guess, but I don't know how long he played there for. And he won the Super Bowl with them. I'm gonna say Brad Johnson, but I don't know how long he played there. But that's what I got for you there, Ron. Brad Johnson. Do you take that?
Brad Johnson. I don't know who that is, so I'll say yeah.
Yeah, he takes him on the list.
Woo, on the list. You got
Number
it.
7.
Number 7.
Wow.
Oh, we got lucky. Bill, no more lifelines for anybody, so this should be fun. Bill, what is your second guess? And you don't have a lifeline, so I'll do you.
I can't think of his first name, but last name Williams.
Williams. That's a very, very like broad name.
I don't know. Well, the guy that won the Super Bowl with Washington later.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll give it to him because it's him.
Okay.
Williams.
It's Doug Williams. Yeah.
Doug Williams. There you go.
That's it.
And we gave it to you because you say you won the Super Bowl.
If
with
you didn't give a
Washington.
reference with it, I wouldn't have given it to you.
So good job there, Bill. Ron, you're up next, buddy. Sorry, you don't have a lifeline, so it's up to you. What do you got?
Okay, Bob Lanier.
Bob Lanier. No,
Bob Lanier.
All right, Bill. This is to officially win the game here. Final guess, no lifeline. What do you got?
Let's see. Isn't that awful? You can't think of who else type for.
What's that?
Oh, I'm Gabbard.
Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert of the Bucs.
No. Leaving the door open for
Okay.
Ron here. Ron, you can send us to overtime with a correct guess. What do you got?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Gil Ellis.
Gil
Ellis is not on the list. Hey, Gil. That 77 season was special. Who's Bill Lambier and Gil Ellis?
Michael Jordan.
All right, who's on this list?
Is Jameis Winston on this list?
Yeah, he's number one.
Yeah, we should have said that.
Jameis.
Yeah. Okay, who's on the list?
All right, Jameis is number one. Vinny Testaverde is number
Vinny.
2.
Oh.
Vinny. Tom Brady is 3. Josh Freeman is 4. Trent Dilfer, hello.
Oh, come on.
He's number 5.
Clean it up.
Then Doug Williams was 6, and Brad Johnson was 7.
Where was Bill Lambier and Gil Ellis?
Let me check.
Bill Lambier.
Not on the list.
All right. Congratulations, Bill. You've won a $50 gift card to Dobson's Bar to celebrate San Diego Restaurant Week. It's going on now through October 1st with over 100 of San Diego's finest dining establishments, a diverse range of cuisines from farm to table to international flavors, multi-course menus starting at $20. Visit SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. Do not go anywhere.
Blaine Gabbert was 37th.
Okay, top 40. They probably have 40 quarterbacks in the history of the franchise. On the other side, we'll give away Coldplay tickets, plus more reaction to what Manny Machado had to say about the media's role in the Padres' 77 and 79 season. We have Monday Night Football at 5:15. Coldplay tickets, we'll give those away next on Jon and Jim.
It's your fault, John. This update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start their final road trip of the year tonight with a 3-game series in San Francisco versus the Giants. The battle for third place as Blake Snell is on the mound for the Padres tonight. Aztecs, they lost to Boise State this past Friday night. They're now 2-3 on the year, 0-1 in conference play. They start, they play Air Force this Saturday, 5 p.m. kickoff, 3 p.m. is when our pregame cover starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the doubleheader in the NFL for Monday Night Football is underway as the Eagles are in Tampa Bay taking on the Bucs. They currently have a 3-0 lead in the second quarter there. And tonight, 5:15, you can listen to this game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Rams there in Cincinnati take on the Bengals. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
Getting close to that time. Yep, that time. Quitting time. And there's only one way to handle that drive home. John Schaefer and Jim Russell, the last homestand at Petco. The Aztecs miss it by that much.
Quarterback draw, yes. He busts out, then stops, then goes again. Touchdown. Limping, but walking in the end zone. Jalen Maiden.
And a packed NFL Sunday.
Heading to the end zone. Freiermuth open. Catches it in the end zone. Touchdown Steelers.
Mahomes. Lofting end zone. There it is. A touchdown to Kelsey. Plus, we get you all set for Monday Night Football as the Rams face the Bengals. Now it's time for Jon and Jim.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's the final hour, actually the final 15 minutes here of Jon and Jim. As Jim just said, we've got Bengals, Rams at 5:15. We're going to get to the wrap in a moment. Do not go anywhere. Within the next, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes, we will give away Coldplay tickets for Thursday night at Snapdragon Stadium. By the way, my highlight of the weekend was at Snapdragon Stadium when J.D. Wicker called out Jim for being deaf. Because a week earlier, J.D. Wicker hopped on Jim's headsets, and when I started the interview, we hadn't turned the volume down from when you were using them, and J.D. literally threw the earphones. He threw the headset down because it was so loud. So that's how loud you listen to yourself in your ears, to the point where J.D. Wicker nearly needed ear surgery, and then he called you out a week later, being like, "What is wrong with you? Why can you not hear?" And said you're going to go deaf, essentially.
What?
Exactly.
Sorry, JD. My bad. I didn't mean to. And then I saw him on Friday night, 2 feet away from him, and he's yelling at me.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why. Okay. Coldplay tickets. We'll give them away in a handful of minutes right now. Let's get to this.
Are the Dolphins the best team in the NFL?
I think they're the best team in the AFC. How do you stop their offense? I mean, you got Travis.
If they don't get 10 yards,
the Broncos.
No, I know
if
that.
If they don't get 10 yards within 4 downs, the other team gets the ball.
You got Tyreek Hill, motioning out of his mind, just getting ready to run these crazy go routes. They have who's the running back for their team? He
the guy nobody knows his name.
He's a 4.2 40 at the combine.
Yeah, Akins or I don't know his name.
Raheem Mostert's always been fast. Jalen Waddle wasn't even playing yesterday. Tua's just chucking it all around the field. I think they're the best team in the AFC. I won't say NFL as of yet.
They're not the best team in the AFC.
Who's better?
Kansas City is clearly better.
Clearly.
They've beaten the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Broncos. Go play Philadelphia, San Francisco, Kansas City.
It's week 3.
I know.
Who have the Chiefs beat?
Yeah, but the Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl. The Dolphins are coming off an off season.
The Chiefs lost to the Lions. They beat probably the worst team in the NFL in the Bears.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
Who else did they beat?
And then the Dolphins beat the second worst team in the NFL with the Broncos.
Yeah, but I'm saying, whose track record are you trusting right now? Patrick Mahomes or Tua's?
Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I get
it.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Who cares?
Next question.
Do you think the Padres will be better in 2024?
I think by default they'll be better, but how much better will they be is the question. With the whole payroll questions looming, if you have a payroll around $200 million, you're going to have to get very creative here, because you got about 12, 13 players. If you keep Juan Soto and if Seth Lugo opts in, which I don't think he will, You got 12 guys making around $200 million. And your payroll is expected to be around there? You mean if you have a $200 million payroll, that's plenty enough to win in baseball. But if you have a top-heavy roster of 10 to 12 guys making $200+ million, when if you don't know this, John, 26-man, it's a 26-man roster in baseball, Jim Facts. So they have to fill 14 more positions with how much money? It's going to be difficult, man. It's going to be difficult, but I just think by default they're going to be better, but I don't know how much better.
Padres will be better in 2024. I agree with you. I can't guarantee they're going to be like 98 win caliber. Probably not.
And I don't really know.
I don't think they're going to be 78 win caliber either. I think a lot's going to be determined based on what they decide to do with Juan Soto.
Yep.
You cannot sell to the fan base that you're getting better without Juan Soto. Don't try it.
Nope.
Because they're going to try it. If you move Juan Soto, they'll have a reason to do it. It's money. But don't sell me on you're going to be better in 2024. You have to have Soto. I think if they have Soto, to your point, by default, they will be better. Next question.
Did Brandon Staley make the right decision by going for it on his own 24-yard line with under 2 minutes to play and a 4-point lead?
No.
They didn't get it.
But here's the thing. Here's how
Could he have any more things in his favor?
Here's how I view yesterday with the Chargers. I'm glad they won that game.
Oh, are you? How are you going to spin this?
I'm glad
you want Brandon Staley there long term.
I think if they lose that game yesterday,
he's gone.
They have no choice but to fire him. I think the best course of action for this franchise is Brandon Staley remains the head coach as long as possible.
Lifetime deal,
because this guy sucks.
How do you, dude? You've lost the locker. You cannot go for it. I'm sorry. I get it. Players want to go for it. You're on your own 24-yard line with a 4-point lead. What are you saying about your defense? The other team has no timeouts, 1:40 to play. They need to score a touchdown, and you're going for it on your own 24-yard line with a run up the middle.
And you can't even use the excuse of we wanted to put the ball in the hands of our best player, Justin Herbert, because you handed it off.
Exactly.
I want him to be the coach for so long because he is such a bad head coach. It's hilarious to watch.
I mean, I have no idea. What are they talking about next day? Like when you go into the owner's office, if that even exists, or you go into the locker room like, hey, we won despite my decision to go for it from our own 24-yard line. What are we doing? Next question.
Who's a bigger story in sports right now, Deion Sanders or Taylor Swift?
You asked me a week ago. It's Deion.
Yeah.
Now it's unequivocally Taylor Swift. No questions asked.
Dude, what happened to Colorado, by the way?
They got their ass kicked.
Yeah, like that was a bit of a correction, was it not? 35 points in the first half for Oregon.
That's a big chunk of humble pie.
It sure is. What are they going to do this week against SC? Real quick before we get back to this, 844-570-1360, caller 7. Does Taylor Swift have any caller 7?
Caller 13. Do caller 13.
Caller 13.
Caller 13.
Caller 13 for Taylor. You have 2 free tickets to Coldplay this Thursday night, Snapdragon Stadium. Ticketmaster.com for tickets and info. Caller 13. 2 free tickets to Coldplay Thursday night, 844-570-1360. Call right now.
Yes.
So, Colorado, how do you bounce back from that against SC at home? Travis Kelsey, how do you bounce back from this past weekend?
How?
Easily.
He's on like the biggest high of anybody right now that is in the media.
Until she dumps him in 2 weeks.
That's the concern.
All right, negative Nancy over there.
Will this last through Super Bowl Sunday?
Track record.
Will this last through Super Bowl Sunday?
I hope so.
I can see it.
I don't. We'll see. But as of right now, I mean, look, here, I'm now consumed by this story. I can't get away from it. I don't know why. It is just taking up all of my time. But according to reports, John, Taylor Swift likes that Travis Kelsey, quote, pursued her. And the pair are having a great time getting to know each other, according to a source. They went on to explain that, quote, Taylor wants a guy that's into his career, does his own thing, but is also supportive and understands her. And Travis fits those qualities, according to the source.
You know my reaction to that?
Your reaction is probably like, how can the secondary for
Colorado
fare against Caleb Williams?
My reaction to that is that's great. That's my reaction. I'm more concerned about what happens on Black Monday in Major League Baseball.
I know.
What happens with AJ Preller? What happens with Bob Melvin?
Well, look, it is going to be all that is talked about next Sunday night for Sunday Night Football. And is Taylor going to show up? Is Taylor going to be in New York and be in a suite to cheer on her new boyfriend, Travis Kelsey? That is going to be the number one story going into that game.
My number one story Sunday night will be on the wrap-up show, which is what happens now. Preller, Melvin, Soto, Padres. What happens next? Tonight, Blake Snell, right? Logan Webb, really good pitching matchup tonight. Padres and Giants game 1.
Yeah.
What happens when this thing ends? Because it's inevitably going to. They're 5 games behind the Diamondbacks with 6 to play. They're 5 games behind the Cubs with 6 to play. What happens when this thing ends?
Let me bring my mood down. I was all on a high from talking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey, and then you brought it right down in the gutter with Padres offseason moves. But I can't wait for some clarity because we have been dealing with a lot of just like not speculation, but
I say speculation,
almost like a he said, she said type of thing. Like, oh, this person says they don't like this person. Oh, this person has problems with this person. Bob and Preller don't get along. Like, I just want certainty because we've known for a long time now. This season ain't it. This season was a disaster. Okay, from almost the jump, it has been a disaster with a couple good moments here and there, but nothing of substance or consequence at all. So now, okay. Give me the decisions. Give me what is happening so we can deal with concrete things instead of speculating on will Bob Melvin return? Will he not return? Will AJ return? Will he not return? What about Soto? I know the Soto thing is going to take longer, but I do feel like hopefully we will get very quickly some clarity on the future of Bob Melvin. And then once we know that, then we're off and running in the offseason.
I will say this, that if they move on from Melvin, we should find out a week from today. Like they should not dilly-dally.
No.
But the only reason it takes time is if Bob Melvin needs time. If Melvin says, we'll see about 2024, I haven't determined whether I want to be back. Okay, well, that's understandable. But if the organization is trying to get rid of Bob Melvin, there's nothing. You've had as much time as you need to make that determination. This team's never been good all year. They've been under 500 all year. We've known the direction of the season all year, essentially. You shouldn't need more time to decide whether you want Bob Melvin back or not. You should know the answer to that Sunday night in Chicago. So if they want to move on from Bob Melvin, we should find out Sunday or Monday. And if they don't, then he should be back. But I don't want to hear about this in 11 days. Oh, after reviewing all the facets of the organization, we've decided Bob Melvin's not the right manager.
Well, especially if the team has decided they want to move on from Melvin, why would they just sit around for a week and watch, other potential candidates get scooped up by other teams? And then, oh, hey, we waited 11 days and our top 3 candidates are all gone now.
Right. Aren't you not supposed to hire a manager in the postseason, but the Padres did it with Melvin in 2021?
Not on days that are games.
Right. So like on off days, you can do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on off days.
That's what they did, I think, with Melvin 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They had to.
It was in October.
Yeah.
It wasn't in November.
Yep.
Well, we wait on that. By the way, in about a minute, who is our winner, by the way, of these Coldplay tickets? Do you know?
Oh, Rosa,
San Diegan, presumably?
Kind of has to be.
If you're going to go see Coldplay. I mean, I guess you could be from somewhere else in California.
I drove by Snapdragon last night, and I was
Lemon Grove.
I was wondering. I was like, oh, wow, I forgot that Coldplay was in town this week, but they had the whole thing set up for a concert. It looked crazy from the outside.
All right. Well, that's Wednesday and Thursday night, Snapdragon Stadium. Tons of concerts coming up. JD Wicker was talking about that Friday night. Guns N' Roses, Pink, a couple of Coldplay shows. Aztecs are not home until late October. I think October 21st is the next San Diego State home game. All right. Coming up literally in moments, we have Monday Night Football with JB Long, voice of the Rams, on the call. Rams 1-1 in Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow is playing tonight. The Bengals with a whiteout.
Ooh. They're debuting their new white jerseys.
Yeah, whiteout in Cincinnati. For the Bengals, who are winless on the year at 0-2. So we have Bengals and Rams on the other side. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. You can find us on YouTube now. Search for Jon and Jim 760. Find us on social media by searching for Jon and Jim. That's JONANDJIM. We're back tomorrow at 3 p.m. reacting to Who knows what we're reacting to tomorrow? But certainly Blake Snell's potential final start in a Padres
still
uniform.
have a chance,
and
guys.
the Padres will be alive when we take the air, I believe, tomorrow. I believe. All right, for Brent and for Jim, I'm John. Monday Night Football is next. JB Long on the call. Rams in Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Keep it right here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.